One of the gifts I received from my parents at Christmas of 1983, after the movie The Return of the Jedi had just been released in theatres the prior summer, was one of those I remembered the most, the official Millennium Falcon from Palatoy. As just a child at the time, most would say that I still am. That thing seemed huge to me, and I used to fly it around the house, have adventures within with my Star Wars figures, and annoy my parents with the noises it made. 40 years later, and with no clue as to what happened to mine, as it doesn't seem to have been around for very long, and with prices of surviving ones being sky high, my hopes of ever getting one seemed like a distant dream. That is, until one day in the supermarket, I saw this and pestered my wife like there was no tomorrow to get it for me for Christmas.
No. No!
This is the Micro Galaxy Squadron Millennium Falcon. Assault class. Now let's address the elephant in the room straight away. This is not quite the same size as the original, but at a fraction of the price with similar and even more advanced features I wanted. So let's free this thing from its cage and have a look at the, for want of a better term, quirks and features of this modern interpretation. I think you will be impressed. First of all, let's have a look at its cage, the box, which is only important to people like me who actually keep these things in the box, because I consider the box to be a part of the whole design. Yes, I've got a few things left in boxes, etc., and unsealing this to show you around was painful for me. But ho hum, the front is the front, but it proudly shouts, well, I'd say at this size it's more of a whisper, about it having lights and sounds. Something we will definitely be taking a look at shortly. Through the window we can see the model itself, the mast and the laser cannon, which you need to put on to the model yourself, and the 4 minifigures, which we will release from their prison and show you in detail shortly. The left hand side shows you motions you can make to activate the sounds, which has been rudely covered by the security sticker haphazardly placed by, I assume, the retailer. Shame on you, B&M. Shame on you. More care in future please. And the rear shows you the features of the model itself, which is the part that, as a kid, having a Millennium Falcon that opened up to reveal the interior, that definitely sold me on this model. Actually more than the lights and sounds feature. They are just a bonus. I won't go into that too much here, as we will be going into detail shortly. In the lower section, it shows you other vessels in the different classes. Assault class being the largest, working down to the light armour class being the smallest, and to be honest, I wouldn't mind getting a few. Overall, I think the box is tastefully designed. Well done Disney for signing off on that. Sliding the tray out, the first thing we find out is that the model really does not want to depart from the tray. The huge overhangs making it actually difficult to remove to the point where you feel you may break something. This, as you'll see, will not be the only thing that will be difficult. Assembling the dish and laser cannon is quite easy. And then you find the 3 feet underneath, which just pull down. A slight flaw, I think, is that they do not click in place, so you can find them easily being knocked out of position as you place the model. Externally, the attention to detail and the paintwork on the model are just gorgeous. You really get the feeling that this is some real Starship with pipework and oddments all over the place. I also love how they managed to give it that wild weathered look. There are dirty looking surfaces all over the place, and a really nice touch is how you have what I assume are soot marks coming out of the vents to the rear. It's a nice touch, although I'd argue that if this is from particles being vented when the vehicle is travelling forward, surely the trails will be going backwards instead of fanning out. But who am I to say? I'm no Starship engineer. That leads me to one general design observation about the Millennium Falcon itself. Can you imagine travelling through an atmosphere with this huge dish on it? This would either be ripped straight off or be built from some material so indestructible that mounting it on the ship would put huge stresses on the ship itself. Sorry, I'm just being nerdy. Okay, features, and on the left side we have the opening cockpit. Nothing too exciting by itself, although when the figures are in, which we will look at in more detail later, it looks far better. And of course the process of getting them in is a bit awkward, resulting in the collapse of the leg. Arrgh. To the side we have the ramp that our characters use to climb aboard our starship, and then it's time to open the rear compartment. A job easier said than done. It's quite awkward and again makes you feel like you're going to break something in the process, and one day maybe will. The process is truly awkward, and once you have the batteries in, causes the hilarity of the sounds activating as you accidentally press the buttons repeatedly. Once it's off, we have access to the interior, which has a few features such as the table and a smuggler bay for your figurines to hide away. There is something about it, I don't know, I expected more detail, perhaps some displays or something. There is this feature with the cannon where you can put a figure into it to operate it. That I get. But then it raises. I have absolutely no idea why. The other thing found hidden away here is the battery bay, which is accessed by undoing this screw here. Once that's installed, we can look at this model's party piece, as it turns out. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at the figurines. In exchange for departing with our hard-earns, we get 4 of them: Han Solo, Princess Leia, Obi-Wan and Chewie, and they are truly diminutive. So small in fact that on first inspection I did not realise that they actually articulate. Amazing at this size. The figures themselves are a mixed bunch, with Han and Leia coming out really well for their tiny size. They even have faces, and Leia's belt is painted. Obi-Wan also has plenty of detail with fold lines in his cloak, a different colour belt and even facial hair. It's Chewbacca where things are less successful. Overall, moulding is good, but it's like a couple of the paint machines ran out of paint, as he has no silver on his utility belt as would normally be seen. Apart from that, a really good, well articulated set of figures. Now it's time to play! And I love how they've done the control of the sound and light features. No obvious buttons, instead they are activated by these 2 vents here, the right hand one making the sounds of the cannon. Just a shame there are no lights at the front, where they would traditionally fire. But it's when the engines light up that things get really nice, with this entire light bar flickering into action with this ethereal glow. I'd love to have a light like this as a night light, but if you're wondering, no, you can't use this light, as it switches itself off after a few moments. You can press the button again to switch it off yourself. Once it's on, if you hold that button down, it will make the sounds of jumping to light speed. You can press the right hand button at any time to make the cannon sound, and it's an impressive sound and quite loud. I like it! The real fun with the sounds, apart from that cannon. When the ship turns left, you get this sound. Right, you get a different sound. Starting on the climb, and you get this quite impressive climbing sound. And even inverted, you get yet another sound. So all in all, you can fly this thing around making loads of sounds, although you might want to remove the smuggler's cover from inside, or it will rattle around. And another thing is that if you press the cannon, then the turn sound will override the cannon. I prefer if it did not. Have you bought one of these? What do you think of it? Have you bought any of the rest of the range and enjoyed them? Do please let me know. So all in all, it's a good model with amazingly beautiful details in the model itself. A few flaws, like the difficulty of getting that top off, the smuggler's hatch flying off when in use, etc., which could be so easily remedied. But I think this is more of a display model, with the occasional use of, ooh, look what this thing can do, when others see it. Other than that, it will look amazing on any collector's shelf, whether you have it in its box or out to display.